My great-great-grandfather was Thomas Durkin Williams, and he was in Company E, 15th Mississippi.
And the 15th Mississippi was?
Here? Right through here. I mean, plowing from that way, going behind me, headed toward the federal line. So they're part of John Adams's brigade, William Loring's division.
Wow. Many years ago, the Trust and the Battle of Franklin Trust. By the way, I'm Gary Edelman, American Battlefield Trust. Chris Mikowski behind the camera. I don't want to miss this moment. We preserved this piece of land, and I'm walking out to it for the first time. This is Meadowlands or Loring's Advance. We're on the right side of the Confederate attack. Here's Franklin. Look at this. Like, here we are sort of in the middle of Franklin, and all of a sudden, we're seeing these undulations of the ground. I'm seeing about where, you've got like Featherston and Scott's brigades coming through here. You've got then Adams coming up in reserve, kind of heading off that way. The Carter House, the cotton gins over there. This is sort of an advanced ridge over here. It's all making sense now that we're here. And if we can catch up to them, we've got Eric Jacobson, Battle of Franklin Trust, Trace Adkins, preservationist. He also sings too. And we got Joe Rickey here as well. And they're checking out this place, Trace for the first time. And these guys are taking us around here because one of them has an ancestor in this battle in a unit who fought here. Let's just listen in and see what we can learn.
There's Conrad, there's Lane. So here comes Loring, sweeping up across the tracks.
Yeah.
There have been a few markers that we've put up through the years that, I mean, I'm proud to say, we helped put them up, but there are certain markers that are just, I think, more important or more impactful. His death, everybody saw it on both sides. Claiborne disappeared into the smoke, and Gist and Carter and Strahl got hit up near the works. Adams was astride his horse. The commander of the 65th Illinois was screaming at his men not to shoot him, and then he got up on the works, and his saddle and his jacket are in Nashville at the State Museum.
You can see the bullet holes. You can see a bayonet hole through the side of the saddle.
There's a bayonet wound in the pommel. There's a bullet hole through the back of the saddle. His jacket's got a handful of bullets in the chest area.
So why do you think it says, why does this say a romanticized image? Why couldn't it have looked like that?
It's possible, except I don't think he ever actually got to the works.
Oh, really?
His body was found outside the works, and several of the soldiers who wrote said that as he came up toward the works, the color guard opened up, blasted him off the horse, and the horse just kept going and hit the works.
Oh.
Jack Casement, who, by the way, the brigade commander, was he worked on the railroads after the war. He was in Promontory, Utah when they drove the Golden Spike. He gave Adams's wife the saddle after the war. He gave it back to her. But he said when they sent the skirmish line out, that's when they found Adams's body.
And then too, there's like the different stories of how he died, right? Because you've got Casement and Stewart who write a little bit about it, but then you've also got Thomas Gibson, Adams's cousin, whose I think pistols we're going to go see here in a little bit. But Gibson writes his account, what is it, Eric, 25 years later? Probably. And he talks about Adams's last moments, and he's where we get the story that he's brought behind the cotton gin. He's laid on a bale of cotton. He says it's the duty of a good soldier to die for his country. The problem is that Gibson wasn't there. But Stewart and Casement both seem to attest that he either falls outside the earthworks or he's in the works and is pushed back over the top of it.
But he's another great personal story. I mean, this guy he didn't just graduate from West Point and, fought in Mexico. I mean, this guy was everywhere. He was in every crummy post out west. He was in California when the war broke out, fights for Tennessee. He had 6 kids. He had a 13-month-old girl when this attack began. I mean, if he's not thinking about her like every other normal human being was, I mean, I'm sure there was some fleeting thought.
Where was he from?
He was from Pulaski. He was a native Tennessean, Giles County. And he came back and he fought for his home state, and Gibson, his cousin, took him home, and he's buried in Maplewood. He was taken to Carnton. He was there for a short while, but Gibson took him home. And his wife raised those kids. I think 2 of them became doctors. She's buried in St. Louis. And there's another personal story about the war is over, people die, and then there's the people who survive who, you know, they live with it for decades. She was a widow, never remarried.
She went 40 years.
Yeah.
40 years.
You know, she was here the day they unveiled the Confederate monument, November 30th, 1899. She was here. She came back here for that one time.
Guys, I want to hit two things real quick because we just happened upon you sort of showing Trace this area
Nerding
here.
out.
You guys are talking about General Adams, right? And General Adams, you know, breathed his last somewhere down there. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and one of the reasons you're here is because, Trace, at least your ancestor, who's your ancestor?
My great-great-grandfather was Thomas Durkin Williams, and he was in Company E, 15th Mississippi.
And the 15th Mississippi was?
Here? Right through here. I mean, plowing from that way, going behind me, headed toward the federal line. So they're part of John Adams's brigade, William Loring's division.
Wow. So what's it
Wow.
like? I mean, you don't know. Yeah.
I love that when you get that feeling.
A.P. Stewart's Corps, who was later chancellor at Ole Miss.
There you go.
There's some trivia for you.
Good. Well, right in the middle of his goosebumps too, man. Thanks.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, what's it like, you know, coming out here for the first time to, you don't know exactly where he was, but just seeing it here?
Well, first of all, I'm shocked that I've never been here, that I've never been to this part of the battlefield. I didn't even know that you guys had, I didn't know you had this. Y'all purposely kept this a secret from me, that you had this piece right here. This is great. Yeah.
We've got all sorts of little trinkets all over the place.
He looked like Sam Elliott a little bit.
He does.
Well, guys, I'm glad we happened upon you. As Chris Mikowski behind the camera and says, let's start rolling. So that's what we did. So this is kind of a somewhat different video, but thanks, guys, for doing this. We're going to shoot a separate video out at Carnton and some other stuff to show you there. So thanks for watching. Thanks for literally seeing the result of battlefield preservation and education.
Hello, this is Trace Adkins. To stay up to date on all the latest and coolest videos, please subscribe to the Trust YouTube channel. Preserve, educate, inspire.